Hey, welcome back to the Lance Roberts Podcast. I'm Rich Rosso and so excited to have as our special guest Dr. Zvi Bodie and one of my, idols. Not afraid to say that, not ashamed. So we were talking about this association of safety and stocks that I am coming across and trying to figure out why that is. And you were sharing your thoughts on that. So please expand on what your thoughts are.
Well, first of all, let me say that it is almost a matter of religious belief among investment professionals. No amount of logical reasoning on my part is going to convince an advisor who has believed this, his or her whole professional life. If it's a religious belief, it isn't necessarily based on logic, right? It's faith. And there are a lot of people who will say, I have faith in the U.S. economy, and therefore I am sure that in the long run, you can't beat stocks. Some very famous people have said that. Warren Buffett is an example of one. So he's sort of a high priest of the belief that you can't lose. But I would simply point out here, I'm not saying that the market will definitely go down. I'd say, it's likely to keep going up in the long run, but it could go down, and that's the risk. Just like, we buy insurance against all sorts of things that don't have a high probability of occurring, like our house burning down, for example. And the reason we do that is because we know it could happen, even though it's a small probability. You can agree with Warren Buffett and invest a large amount of money if you want in stocks. Just be aware of the fact and have a plan for what you're going to do if the market does go down. Now, I will remind everybody that back in the 1980s, everybody thought the Japanese economy and the Japanese market were overtaking the United States.
Yep.
That was a general belief.
Big time. Yep.
And then in 1989, the Japanese stock market peaked. And here we are, 30 years later, the market in Japan has still not come back to where it was in 1989, 30 years later. And the Japanese economy is okay. I mean, it's not as if they've had a depression or anything. It's just that the risk is absorbed by the stock market. So, if you were investing in Japanese government bonds, you didn't lose money. So that's what you have to remember.
And you know what? People will say, black swans don't happen very often. Bear markets might average, 38% on the downside. When you're dealing with people, you only need one outlier event because, we're told that outliers don't happen very often. It's just like out here in Houston when Hurricane Harvey hit and we were told that, it was a 1 in 4,000 chance or whatever it was that this kind of thing would occur. But the fact that it did occur changed lives. So people just don't have as much time to make up for errors like that. And so that's why I like your philosophy of this hedging, insuring, and diversifying, because even if I go through a poor sequence of returns, because what I am concerned about is that with valuations the way they are, we may not get this, maybe we don't get big price correction, but a time correction could occur. I would at least have my insurance part, my hedging components. I'm doing my best on those two elements to make up for that difference. And it makes such a big difference today when someone comes in and I say, listen, you might have a headwind to your withdrawal strategy. However, since you have pension and Social Security, if we take it wisely and we look at maximizing it for you and your spouse, heck, we have the luxury of letting this take its time or limit or change our withdrawal rates. There is a freedom that comes with your strategy of having some money in guaranteed investments and doing the best you can with Social Security that I think is starting, as I see the registered investment advisory community are starting to embrace, I think, the annuity structures and reverse mortgage, and Wade Fow's done some wonderful work on that. So I think we're finally starting to see the benefits of the insuring and the hedging compared to years ago.
It is important. I tell everybody about I-bonds because that is the way to hedge in your portfolio. Now, you're limited to $10,000 per year per person in the amount that you can buy of I-bonds. But you don't have to hold them in a retirement account to get tax deferral. They're liquid. After 1 year, you can sell them, and there is no downside. So I emphasize that if your listeners should look into I-bonds, and the way to do it is to go to treasurydirect.gov.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you are bringing up what I call the real elements of diversification. And these three pillars that you talk about, to me, I put in a big circle and I write on top of it true diversification compared to how diversified is determined and classified and sort of shoveled out to retail investors. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate your time on our podcast today. And thanks for being with us.
My pleasure.
Hey, well, listen, incredible insight from Dr. Zvi Bodie and how to rethink. Again, more of a financial rebel. And I'm so fortunate to know him and his work. And we share some of that with you at realinvestmentadvice.com. But you've been listening to the Lance Robert Podcast, and I'm Rich Rosso. Thanks for tuning in.
You can get daily real investment news you can use, delivered at the speed of the internet. Sign up for Lance's newsletter now at realinvestmentadvice.com.